Good morning. Come on in, welcome, welcome. I'm all about starting on time. It's Monday morning. Woo! Always hard on Monday mornings. But I'm Maggie Davis, and I'm super excited to be here. If you catch any of my presentations, I always start and end the same way. So I'm going to teach you the Excel model. I'm from Nevada Community School District. It's right by Ames, Iowa State University. I teach 3rd and 4th grade, and I always get lots of questions on that, so I just answer it right away. I teach multi-age, so I have 3rd graders and 4th graders in my room, and I get my 3rd graders back as 4th graders, so I get to have them for 2 years. So I just clarify that, because people are like, how does that work? And instead of pondering, I just tell you. You are in a session talking about MakerSpace, and especially my students' journey in creating the MakerSpace. And at Nevada, we do something called Capturing Kids' Hearts, and it's our whole district initiative we've been doing for 3 years. And so we start every class period, every meeting, every faculty meeting with something we call good things. And so, yes, I'm totally going to ask you to participate. And I will go first. Usually we just share a few good things to get us started, then I'll kind of tell you the agenda, and then we'll get started. And so, my good thing, sorry I even put a picture, Saturday night, the Des Moines Symphony played Led Zeppelin music. I mean, seriously, that was, in the middle of a symphony was a rock band, and they rocked out. It was fantastic. That was definitely my good thing from the weekend. It was definitely surprising to see a symphony and a rock band, like, rocking out. It was the most diverse crowd I had ever seen at the Civic Center, right? Very, like, suit and tie people for the symphony, and then the rockers, like, standing up with their fists in the air. So that was awesome. So, anyone else have a good thing to share? Something from the weekend? Maybe the snow is not a good thing for you that we had yesterday. Anyone excited about anything? Yes, thank you for participating.
My son was recognized as a senior, so senior night, football game, and so riding the wave of that.
That's awesome. So son was recognized senior night, football Friday. Fantastic. So here's what we do in my room. We give 2 claps. Who else has got a good thing? We'll just do a couple more. Something good. Yes! I was really hoping someone would say, pumped up for iTech. Yeah, how many of you, this is your first time at iTech? Yeah, look at all those hands. So, right, I'm guessing you've been here before. You didn't raise your hand. So, my newbies, you can be excited because someone who's been here before is pumped up. So, yay, 2 claps for iTech. Can I get one more good thing? Anybody else got something? Iowa State. That was a fun game. Sorry I don't pay attention because I don't have an allegiance to that, but yay, Iowa State. Did anybody go to the game? Nice, okay. I heard people like storm the field, right? Like that was exciting. So thanks for bringing up Iowa State, and 2 claps for Iowa State. Sweet, so thanks for doing good things. It's definitely what we do as the heart of our district. And you'll see how I end the meeting is always with a launch. So if you take nothing from me today, do good things in your classroom. It is a positive way to start a day talking about something good. Today I want to show you the journey that I've started and that I'm still currently in, because to me it's more than just creating a space where kids can make things. It's knowing what's the intent and what's the purpose. And so, yes, I can stand here and tell you all the cool technology tools and all the cool supplies you need in a MakerSpace room, but to me it comes down to what's your intent and what's your purpose. Otherwise, it's just another room with cool stuff, which is really great. I love a room with cool stuff, but I want to be able to use it wisely and use it to the best of my ability. And so, I had to start with what is a MakerSpace? Like, what is it and why do we care? Why do we want MakerSpace? We have 3 buildings in our district. Our high school has a MakerSpace. Our middle school got a MakerSpace last year. And so right now I'm working on our elementary. And just to let you know, I already have a room. It's connected. It was our office library, or it was the office to our library. And so we're changing that into a MakerSpace, which is great. And I already have the admin on board. So to have those 2 things already on board makes things, welcome, come on in. Good to see you. And so will you just take like 30 seconds And see if you can answer that question. What is a makerspace to you? Why would it be important? And I know some of you are kind of spread out, but will you tell someone next to you, like, what is a makerspace, and why do we need them? Why do we want them? What's so important? So will you take a moment, think for yourself, gather your thoughts? Or what comes to mind when you think of makerspace? And will you tell someone next to you, what is it? What's it sound like? What's it look like? What's it feel like? You might have to turn tables, sorry. It's like weird. Or turn around, sorry, or turn forward. What is it? So can I hear some ideas? I'm eavesdropping for sure. What is a makerspace? Or what does it sound like, look like? Why? What did you just share with those people next to you? I know it's on Monday morning and I'm totally... Foster creativity. Great, let's add to that. Student choice. Yeah.
Exploratory learning.
Exploratory learning. Can you add more to that?
No, I mean,
or explain what you mean?
What we were saying, the tools are there, but you kind of just you learn on your own.
There's like no direction, like no end result they have to get to. They get to
no end result, and so they get to explore to get to that end result. Nice. Any other thoughts this side? Just talking, what is a makerspace, or what comes to our mind? Give us evening. Sorry. Sometimes it's fun when you know somebody. So this summer I took an engineering class, and that was really helpful. It's engineering in the fast lane. I got to take it with some teachers at the Ankeny School District, and they really got me thinking about this whole idea of design thinking and design challenges and STEM challenges, and I was like, that's all great. And so I could be in charge of making the makerspace for my school. Like I could think of it and I could design it, but wow, what happens when my students do it? And so the permission that I asked was, I went to my principal, I'll talk about her often, her name's Chris, and I said, is it okay if my students plan the space? Because one, there'll be a lot more ownership, a lot more buy-in, and when kids make something for kids, there's something that happens, right? We're a preschool through 4th elementary building, over 600 kids. We're making this space, and so my kids, they have to think about other people, which is really good, because they're just very egocentric. And so, for me, what the most important thing about the makerspace is not necessarily the stuff. We'll get there, we'll talk about that, but it's the process, and what I want kids to learn when they enter into that space. Or if a makerspace, if you don't have a separate room, the same things can happen inside your classroom. We can foster the same things because I want my kids to be able to critically think. I want them to be able to problem solve. Good morning, come on in. I want them to be able to have empathy, right, for somebody else, to be flexible, to be adaptable. These are what we call our learner outcomes. And so I started my whole idea of presenting the makerspace to my students around the idea of design thinking and the design process. And it all came from my learning from the engineering class. And so we started the year with this cup stack challenge. Sorry, that is a mouthful. It's a team building activity. I could just use it for a team building activity. You take a rubber band and tie like 5 strings around it. And so working as a team, everybody has to pull the strings to stretch the rubber band around a cup. You have to flip it over. So it starts right way up. You have to flip it over. And you can see down here, like they're going 3, 2, 1, and then I change the structure. Can you do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Can you do a pyramid structure? Again, fostering team building. I do this like in the first 3 days of school. We love this activity. How I thought about it differently though, I was like, man, kids are actually going through the design thinking process. and they don't even realize it. And so I had a student teacher to start the year, and we just started taking hundreds of pictures. Like literally, she just click, 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 click. I was like, just capture it all because then I can sort through. And what I was looking for the beginning. I need a picture of how they started or them just talking to each other. I needed a picture of when a cup fell. I needed a picture when they got it. And so I created our own picture sort of them. This was our shared experience because I could tell my students what a design thinking process is, but really I wanted them to discover it. And so using a shared experience, we were able to go through and what steps did you go through in order to solve the cup challenge? And what did you notice with other groups? Because like the scientific method, there isn't just like one way and it's not linear. This is what my kids actually created. Sorry, it's not a very good picture. I tweet a lot, so a lot of my pictures have been deleted off my phone to create more space, and you find them on Twitter. And so after going through a shared experience and a picture sort, they were able to give me this idea that you start with a challenge or problem, you brainstorm ideas, you make a plan. We did the plan. We said, oh my gosh, this is not working, our cups are falling down, right? Like they went through that frustration, they had to try again, they actually stayed at the try again, like for a while, right? And we talked about that, how sometimes you have to stay right there, and then, ta-da, we got the cup to all stand in the right way. And so my students helped me create for our class this process that we were then going to say, okay, guess what? We now want all students in our building to go through this process, and we want to create a room, we want to create a space where all students can engage in this kind of thinking. I also had to divine engineer for them. The product process, okay, so engineer is a person who designs something to meet a want, need, or solve a problem. That's a lot of times of what I give my students to do with team building activities or STEM challenges. I needed them to have this understanding so that they could have a really meaningful experience with creating the MakerSpace. I feel like if I just started with saying, hey, guess what, we're going to create a MakerSpace? Okay, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? I needed to have them experience, this is what's going to happen in that space before I asked them to brainstorm. And a resource that we use, so there's one book I'm going to talk about. Lots of sticky notes. So I looked through this book. This book is great because it talks about like your mission and your purpose statement, and it just has places for you to jot down ideas. So I read it, looked through it, and then I handed it to a kid. It became her book in her book box, and you can see all the things that she sticky noted. Now it's going to go to the next kid and put in their book box, because I shouldn't be the only person gaining this information about MakerSpace. If it's a team, if it's my whole kids, any resource I find, I then put in their hands. So I was like, wait, now I get that I can't hand this to every kid, right? I have some struggling readers in my room, but it's really helpful to challenge my top readers. I'm giving them an adult text. I love that. That link, just to let you know, it's an article that I sent to all of my students in an email because it's a third grade class who designed their own MakerSpace. Sometimes my kids will tell me, Miss Diaz, like, why are we, like, we're just kids, right? And I was like, but actually kids have done this before. Sometimes you're inspired when you hear stories of someone has done this before. And so if you want to read an article, I put the link up there, and it's just a great story of a third grade class who designed their entire room based on Legos, which is just fun. Like, literally, the walls are made out of Legos, the tables are made out of these Lego blocks. It's very cool. They thought it was awesome. And then we started brainstorming. The reason I have the picture on the right is we ran out of paper space, so just to let you know, you can totally write on your windows in a dry erase. And it erases, so that's helpful. I put up giant pieces of paper because once we had a shared experience of, okay, we want kids to go through the design process, now let's start thinking. What does it mean to make? I asked my students that question. What does it mean to make? What do we want our purpose to be? What's our mission for our MakerSpace? And guess what? Kids totally can come up with good answers. They can if we let them. They said things like invent, right? The same things that you said earlier of, they might not say exploratory, but they might say, I want to play with it, right? Like, we're on the same path. They definitely said the word create, invent, they want to be challenged, they want to be inspired, they want to dream big, they want to create something that has a purpose. And so I took giant paper, like the biggest paper, just put it all around my room, and I said, just walk around with a marker, and right now, any idea is a good idea. Sometimes we just have to give freedom to our students to just dream. Just dream, and dream big. Yeah, we'll have to kind of get that down a little bit. Maybe it costs way too much money, but right now I just need you to dream. And so we did, and the different colors were what materials, what decorations, right? They want a theme, which we'll talk about. We want challenge cards so that you go in, there could be challenges for you to work on, which I will share. And so we started finally getting to the brainstorm of that design process. And really what students are going through in creating the MakerSpace is a design process. And I want them to know that and get feedback for every part of our phase. So here's where, right, like we stayed on this for a couple of weeks. It's just any idea is a good idea, and it's going in your notebook. And we get slime out to help us think, and we like lay out on the floor, and we're just like, think, right? Get as many ideas as you can. And we just kept adding and adding to it. That's why I had to go to Windows to write on. And we finally got to this. Okay, so we have to kind of narrow it down. Really, we need to just use the MakerSpace, because there's this room, but we don't really know what's needed. So let's just use it. Let's just jump right in. I'm very much a jump right in and see what's needed kind of person. We knew with 24 people working on one thing is really hard. And so we talked about how a lot of times in society we have committees. We have smaller teams, because making a decision with 6 people is much easier than 24. We definitely knew we had to ask permission. We have to talk to the janitor a lot. We have to talk to the principal a lot. Which is great, and we have to present ideas to someone. They're definitely learning right now how to write an appropriate email, because sometimes they just write, "Hi, can we have this?" And I was like, "Ooh, let's say like, good morning. Thank you for reading my," right? Like it's that protocol of how do you ask politely, and how do you ask with just gratefulness, right? All those things. And so, here we go. We started our first design process. So here's an activity we did, created tree houses. If you were at iTech last year, you got to hear Buddy Berry. Buddy Berry is the superintendent at Eminent Schools down in Kentucky, and he is phenomenal. If you ever get to hear him speak, go. He's great. I got to visit his school, and it's called the Ed Hub, and I went through a design process doing a wallet, and creating a wallet for someone else, and so I was inspired by that, and so I had my students create tree houses, but they had to interview someone else, and so they had to interview another classmate and another class, and they had to go through 3 designs before they could even get stuff in their hand, because a lot of times we just say, go for the stuff, and so I really wanted them to stop and give feedback and to make it better, and so we were the first people to use our MakerSpace. And you can see we're just on the floor. That was very telling. My kids were like, save us, we need tables. Great, now that we're in this space doing something, we can see what we need actually. Because at first, none of them were thinking tables and chairs. They're kids. They're just like, we want the Legos, we want the Connects, we want the rope. I was like, all those are good things, guys. But we actually need practical things. And I can't get an 8-year-old to think practical unless I actually put them in that situation. And so the other thing was, stuff was everywhere. They were like, we need like labels on the cupboard that tell us this is where the markers are. That is a great idea. Yes, because I put you in this situation, you're finally noticing we need these things. I had to carry all of my craft supplies, like art supplies, right? The random things in your cupboard. We had to carry it, we had to lug it all the way there because nothing was in that room. And so they were able to really see, wait, we need this. We need the list started coming because I just invited them to create in a space that wasn't ready. Does that make sense? Like I wanted them to create in a space that wasn't ready so they could see, oh yeah, we need these things. that was really helpful. We ended up having 4 committees based on their ideas. Those are the 4. I'm going to spend a lot of time on the organization and design challenges. We don't think our kids can really handle this, but they really do have great ideas. Like, it always amazes me. I mean, I have 8 to 10-year-olds, and sometimes they need a little prompting, but they definitely can come up with these things, which is great. And so, the decorations design. So, they want a space theme. I was like, that's great. Glow-in-the-dark stars, everything. Okay, that's fine. But we wanted a Lego wall. We don't necessarily have a wall that we can put it on, but we have an old bookshelf. It's an old office library. And so we're taking the shelves out. And so I have 2 students working on all the math with area and perimeter to figure out how many of these can fit onto the shelf on both sides so that kids can build. And so what I love is now the creating of the MakerSpace, now it's my math, and it's what we read about, it's what we talk about in science. It's not just another thing. It's actually, I can cover my standards while we're doing this. And so that's what I really appreciate about it, that it's not just an add-on. No, I actually want to integrate so I can teach all of those things together. They want to have quotes, so I know they're excited to work with the art teacher, right? An integration of different subjects. What's nice is we can work with our middle school and high school students asking for help. They were like, hey, we should ask Mr. Wyden, that's our art teacher, if we can paint these in art class. That's a brilliant idea, right? It gets someone else involved. It adds to that communication. And right now they're figuring out, now they know how many Lego squares that we need for that. So a great thing, even just creating a place where kids can help figure out how many Lego blocks do I need for my Lego wall. They definitely want different supplies. On the left, now, some of my kids have been in a MakerSpace before. They have older siblings at the middle school, but some of them have no idea. I can Google, right? They can Google, what do you put in a MakerSpace? You can get tons of ideas. But a lot of them are really stuck on the recycled materials. They just want to make something out of stuff. And it amazes me, you just put things in front of kids, like the exploratory you just said, you just put things in front of kids and they just let me play, just let me tinker, right? Let me explore this. And so, for us, we decided we needed things that stayed in the MakerSpace and things that you could take home. Because otherwise, I mean, a 4-year-old having to destroy their Lego thing every time they build something, that's kind of hard, right? Just even for a little kid to understand. And so we wanted to be able to have both in our MakerSpace. Yes, there are things in the MakerSpace where you have to keep those things there. The Connects cannot go home with you. The Snap Circuits cannot go home with you. The little bits can't go home with you. But if you create something out of recycled materials, you can totally take that home with you. The other things they decided, people can take a picture of, right? Kids can take a picture and then we use Seesaw in our district, and that's our online portfolio. And so you can have a picture of your work that you're creating. We already have a foldable green screen, and so they were looking at prices of puppets. So they could create movies or different shows. Play-Doh and slime. Anybody else's kids? Like, that seems to be like the biggest, that's like the new in thing. So they really want supplies to make different kinds of slime. And I was like, like I have to ponder. I mean, that just gets messy. But if a teacher wants to go to the MakerSpace and make different kinds of slime, great. That's definitely what my students want, which is funny. The paper in the middle, I know you can't see it very well, but it's a kid trying to write down the prices of everything, like off of Amazon or Walmart or Target, right? Like they're just Googling prices. And I was like, my gosh, this is a really good learning opportunity for how to create a spreadsheet. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh right, I can now teach them this because this is not organized by any means. Like this is just a hodgepodge of stuff, and how are we going to present this to the principal when we need to ask for $500? That doesn't make any sense. And so I was like, great, this is my next learning, this is my next teaching. I can teach you how to use a Google spreadsheet. We already know how to use Google Docs, we're just gonna move over, right? And now I can line all this up so I can see, oh yeah, these are the prices. This makes a lot more sense. So the things on the right are the things we already have in our MakerSpace, and we're hoping to get all the things on the left. That's why I put that. The organization and communication committee, they thought of, oh, we have to have a schedule where teachers like sign up to use the room. Yeah, we do. We have to have a calendar because you can't have 600 kids in that one space. They know that we need to have a place to store projects that aren't done yet. So we gotta have some shelves, we have to have some space that somebody might not finish their work. We have some supplies, right, that I already said that have to stay in the MakerSpace. Some kids can take pictures. We actually have an iPad card that teachers can rent out, and so there's plenty of iPads that kids can take pictures to send either to themselves or put right on their seesaw. And right now this committee, this is so funny, they made announcements to start collecting recycled materials. So I just love this. Like, they had to explain what a MakerSpace is and like say, hey, we're collecting, so if teachers have cardboard boxes when we're done with snack, or if a supply comes in a box, we now want all that. We want all that cardboard. We want any egg cartons. We want the, you know, when tape gets done, like masking tape and duct tape, we want those. That's a good shape, just to let you know. We use that a lot when making the tree houses. So they made announcements, they made signs to put on boxes. They had to ask the janitor for all the boxes. Toilet paper too. Like, those are really helpful, just to let you know. Like, that is a great tool. And so if you use a lot of cardboard, just FYI, you need a lot of hot glue. It's way easier than rubber cement. We learned this, right? The kids in the MakerSpace creating their tree house. They're like, Miss Davis, the rubber cement is not working. We need to buy more glue guns. I would agree. Hot glue gun became the first priority of the MakerSpace. We need like 3 because then they can all be heating at the same time. And so that was the organization committee. The reason we wanted a challenge committee, like a challenge design, is yes, you can just go into that space and use it for however, but sometimes it's helpful when there's direction and when there's purpose, when there's an activity or a challenge involved. And so because my students had gone through so many challenges, we do one where you take 20 pieces of spaghetti and mini marshmallows or tape, try to build the tallest tower in 15 minutes, and it has to hold a giant marshmallow on the top. And we first did it once with tape, and then we did it with mini marshmallows, and then we compared the 2 structures. Did you get taller with using the tape or the mini marshmallows? We just changed one constraint to see how that affected the structure of the tower. They had gone through so many of those challenges that then they were able to create their own. And for me, it was really helpful to tie it into literacy. I literally like put our favorite picture books in front of our students and said, based on these books, make me a challenge. That goes with that story. So here's one of my students. When you read about the planets, right, we have a lot of nonfiction text in our room. And hers was make an alien. And you could use the recycled materials. And I love that she said you have 50 minutes, right? And you have to write 3 things from that planet. So I can tell which student this is from because she loves writing. Writing is her passion. And so yeah, you have to create an alien, but you have to explain why the alien goes with that planet. Like what's the connection between those 2? And so, yeah, I love that. We got so many different challenges. So make one of them, make an alien. With a bridge. Okay, so I've seen tons of different bridge designs, and yes, I can literally put materials in front of students and say, build a bridge. But again, what's my purpose? What's my intent? That's what I'm going to keep coming back to over and over. And what I learned is that a huge part of it is, yes, collaboration. And so sometimes I switch up the teams, right? Or I have to give kids specific feedback. Hey, when you say this to your peer, it sounds like this. It sounds like you're being negative, or it sounds like you're trying to be the boss. We don't want bosses in this situation. We need leaders, right? It's very different to be a boss compared to a leader. And so a lot of times, team building might be a part of it, but also I want them to really understand this idea of design thinking, that my first idea is not always the best idea. Kids really think that their first, that's it, now I'm done. Right? I work with a lot of kids that are just like, yep, that's it, I'm done. I've done the minimum, I'm good, check it off my list, move on. It might be a really great idea, but man, we can learn so much more if I stop and get feedback, if I try it out, if I get feedback some more, how to accept that, receive that feedback, How do I try it again? And so with a bridge, 21 Elephants, that's a great book, just to let you know. There are tons of bridge picture books, just to let you know. 21 Elephants, though, is one of my favorites. This student decided to make a challenge with popsicle sticks, straws, and tape. So those are the constraints in 3rd through 5th engineering standards. Our engineering standard talks about constraints. You can also put cost with it, right? Especially if you're 3rd through 5th, that's part of that standard. So you could say, oh, how many popsicle sticks do you want if they're $2 a piece? Or how many straws do you want if they're $1 a piece and you have a budget of $20, right? And so that just adds to that process and that thinking. They're definitely going to have to design something, think that through, instead of just grabbing materials and starting to build. They're going to have to stop and think. They wanted this bridge to be at least a foot long, at least a ruler. They only had 20 minutes, so they put a time constraint on it, and to hold the most weight. Now, weight can be very different. Maybe you just set a cup and you just started adding washers. We've learned that washers is a really helpful thing because you can just count the washers. We also have gram pieces that we work with, and so that's what we've tested our bridges with, which is kind of fun. Cool. These are some other ones. So all the links are that book out loud. So if you don't have the book, you could have it read to you. I know that our kindergarten friends love doing things with leaves, and the leaves are changing right now. And so notice we wrote create something that will clean up someone's yard that's full of leaves. I did not want to use the word rake. Otherwise, you'd get a class of 20 rakes. Sometimes it's creating a space where kids can really think outside the box, but also giving them parameters. So it has to clean up someone's yard. Maybe it has to gather leaves and put them somewhere else. I mean, I could get more specific in that. I just didn't want to say the word create a rake because they would typically look all the same. For 1st and 2nd grade, create a boat that can hold so much weight or move a certain distance. We've used a kiddie pool before in our school where it had to go from one side to the next with just certain materials. Again, you can decide the constraints based on what you have. And 3rd and 4th grade, so my students have done a lot of work with the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the Pacific Ocean there is an island of trash that is like 3 times the size of Texas. And my students are like, who cares? We live in Iowa. It's nowhere near the ocean. But actually, all of our water gets to the ocean. And once we learned that, then they realized, oh, that means all of our trash goes to our ocean too. And so, design a way to help aid in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. There have been students, so my students created storm drain messages. They wanted to paint on the storm drains of our community, and we've actually spent the last 2 years painting storm drains. Our high school helped us out, laser cutting stencils, and we've been painting our storm drains. But I recently saw on the news that there were people creating, our water goes out of a huge, a drain into the waterway. They put things there to catch all the trash, either a net or wire meshing, something to, and I was like, right, someone's really thinking about this. It's not just for the people that live in California or live close to the Pacific Ocean, but yes, all of our trash leads to that. So getting kids aware of globally, we can be a part of something even that is way beyond just Iowa. And so we are definitely still in this process. Our MakerSpace is not up and running for anyone to use. Could any classroom go in there and just use the space? Yes. We have the connects are already there, the building bricks. There's definitely not tables. So we just have fun on the floor, which is fine. There's lots of empty cupboards, which is great at the moment. Our virtual reality is being held there. It's hard because it used to be an office, so we have to clean all this stuff out. There's giant TVs in there, and we're like, shoot, where do we put these? There's paper cutters and laminators. Where do we have to house it somewhere else? And but my students are itching, like they're very itchy. We've been sending some Google forms out for teachers to get feedback. And so I told them, I was like, we're not just gonna like make this space and then we're done. No, we need to learn from teachers. We need to learn from students. What's going well? What isn't going well? What are some supplies that we need? We're spending a lot of time learning about feedback, how to receive it with just a okay and not argue back, but also how to take that feedback and do a lot of things with it. And so before we invite the school, I know that students will present at a faculty meeting. I'll have a couple students do that to let the teachers know. Instead of it coming from me, it can come from them, which makes that even better. And then there will be a calendar where teachers can start signing up. Hey, I want to use the room this day, this time. What's great is I know we'll probably offer, hey, if you're preschool, right, preschool, wants to go into the MakerSpace, we'll be a partner and we'll do something with you. Sometimes that eases teachers, I don't know what to do when I go into the MakerSpace, right? Like, I don't want to have fear be on any of my teachers. We already have too much to do. We already have too much to do. Our job is really hard, and there's a lot. And if you had to make sub plans for today, anybody have to make sub plans for today? Yeah, our job is hard. I was at school yesterday for like 2 hours making, yeah, right? Our job is hard. And so my goal is to not make this be a hard thing for teachers. And so for me, yeah, it's giving them resources and helping them out, but it's also showing them this isn't just one more thing. I actually can do my reading, do my writing. Oh my gosh, you should see my kids writing when they got to reflect on their tree houses, right? We posted it on Seesaw. They reflected on Seesaw. Yes, I have to give them sentence stems to help them out because it's the beginning of the year. But their writing is, they just write because, hey, I have to do something that was really important to me and that was valuable, so I'm going to write all about this. We have done a lot of math. With our treehouse project, the goal was geometry. So in their treehouse, they had to show their parallel lines, perpendicular, acute, obtuse, angle, all of their geometry standards they had to show through their treehouse. And so I don't want teachers to look at the MakerSpace and go, when can I ever fit that in my schedule? Right? I don't even have 15 minutes to breathe. That's not the point of a MakerSpace. We know it's good for kids. We know that we want kids to create, to invent, to be problem solvers, to think critically, to collaborate, to learn about feedback, right? To be flexible and adaptable. We know these are good things for kids. And so to help teachers, right? Like especially when I think about my teachers that I work with, I want to show them, guess what? Whatever you're reading about, we can tie something with that you can now create and invent and process. We can tie in your math. We can tie in your writing. So that I don't have to maybe do a lesson on this. Now it's all done with this project, this activity, and I'm going to use the MakerSpace room to help me do that. Because having 24 projects in your classroom, I don't have the space, I don't have the room. So this is nice because you can go somewhere else to do that. I could just do it in my own space. Yes, I can. I have a colleague who's going to do Maker Mondays. Our Monday schedule is really weird because we have late starts. Professional development, so our day doesn't start till 9:35 for students, and so that really makes a weird schedule. And so Monday afternoon, she's calling it Maker Monday, and they're always doing something. I was like, that's brilliant. She's not even going to our MakerSpace yet. She's just using that time with purpose and intent to let kids create, invent, and she's calling it Maker Monday. Brilliant. I was like, I love that idea. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. Questions? I was like, that's a lot of information. No questions? Thoughts? Who has a MakerSpace already at their school? Sweet, I love that I see like this. Where are my elementary teachers? Admin? Administrators? Tech people? I was like, yes. College? I was like, secondary teachers, college. Love that. Okay, so do you have plans to start a MakerSpace? Those of you that don't have one in your school. Sort of. Do you have a room? Like, do you know if there's a room in your building? Okay, perfect. So I have the luxury that there was a room. Okay. And so I encourage you to know that you don't have to have a room. That is just that only became a luxury for me in the past 3 months. Because the principal was like, hey, we're going to use the space differently. I was like, sweet, otherwise all of our rooms are occupied. We are full, we are at capacity. And so knowing that, using your own space, I mean, I get that that's a little overwhelming. Here's a fun tool, make do's. Make do's. I wish I had a picture. I'm so sorry, I should have even brought some. They're called make do's. If you use cardboard or recycled materials, you're gonna want make do's. Because cardboard is really hard to cut, especially for if you're 5, even if you're 8. And so it's a little, it's plastic, but it's got jagged edges like a little saw, and they can cut with their finger. It's great. There's also tools that come that are made out of plastic, so they're safe for kids, that they can poke holes in the cardboard. And what's cool is it comes with screws, like plastic screws, and so they can like hinge? Yeah, they can hinge the cardboard together. They're called make-do's. They come in a giant bag. We have 2 bags that when kids are using the cardboard besides hot glue to hold it together, make-do's. It's great. I learned about it at the science conference this year, and it's been a favorite tool. Like, I'm really sorry I don't have a picture, but this is the like little cutting device right there. And it's just a little saw, and it's about this big. Yeah, that's totally it. That's totally it. Make do's. Yeah, Denise.
We have make-do's at Iowa State, and I did a challenge with our pre-service teachers, and we were supposed to create a cardboard chair, and it had to hold the weight of an adult. And so they used make-do to do that. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
They loved them.
Yeah, it's just a really helpful way to put cardboard together. And thin pieces are helpful, but if you order things on Amazon, I've just now started saving all those boxes.
Yeah.
If you eat Cheez-Its, you just save the boxes. And yay, we're recycling, right? Like, I mean, it's just good on so many levels. Excuse me. The thin cardboard, though, is really helpful. So like the food boxes. Obviously, I don't want food in it, right? Because that's just going to attract all sorts of things. But yeah, make-do's were super helpful for a lot of our projects. Lost my train of thought, but I'll think about it. Oh, yes.
Strawberries.
Yes,
like really great to design an idea.
Yes, sorry, we also have those. So strawberries, it literally is tons of straws. But it has the pieces where you can connect them at the end and able to build lots of things. And so these are great things, right, when you just need something to create in a new way. And that's helpful because all the kids can use the same supply. With Connects, a challenge that we're going to do is build a device to hold a phone or an iPad. Like build something to hold up an iPad or a phone, hold it up for you to see with the Connects. And so again, sometimes our challenges are very free for all, right? Like the tree house was more free because every tree house looked very different. Some of our projects look similar in some ways because they're all made out of Connects, but I still want students to go through that thinking of, wait, what's my purpose? What's my intent? The nice thing about recycled materials is the low cost, right? We've got those things. Something else, right? Like even just airplanes, paper airplanes. You can go through a design, you can just make paper airplanes and just start tossing them around. Fantastic. But if you are purposeful, right, and intentional with, wait, how do I want to do, okay? So maybe it is, you've got something hanging on the wall and there's 3 dots. Your goal is to create a paper airplane that when you throw it, you can hit one of those 3 dots. That's a very different purpose. That's a different challenge than just make a paper airplane, okay? Because they might do it and go, wait, I need to adjust and refold. Maybe I need to watch a YouTube video and figure out what's another way to fold a paper airplane because there's so many different ways. maybe I need to Google something that helps me out, right? Maybe I need to add weight to it, right? A paper clip or tape or anything. Where maybe it's the furthest one, but when I give a purpose, when I give that challenge or problem, it completely changes our kids' thinking. It's not just, oh, I'm just gonna make something. That's awesome. We do want them to create. We do want them to invent and be inspired. But I've just learned that it's so helpful when I give them an end point. They know what they're reaching to. Sweet. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, so the question was like scheduling problems with that, like either people wanting it at the same time. I'm guessing, is that what you mean?
So many handling, and so we would have teachers come in, have students come in during the study hall, and supervision from that, and how to arrange that is just
Totally. Right, where we would never let elementary kids in that space without a teacher. So that's a whole other idea with study hall. Well, yes, exactly. Our goal is to have, so we have a shared central calendar. So everyone can see everyone's stuff. Like anytime you leave the building, anytime you're in some other room like the commons or whatever, it's on our shared calendar. And so for us, we will use that. Like there'll be a separate color for MakerSpace. And I mean, yes, there will be times where teachers go on and they're like, dang it, I really wanted that time, and someone's there. But really, it will be open. It'll be open all day because a teacher will take their class. So we don't have to worry about supervision, if that makes sense. But we're going to use our shared calendar so then teachers can even see it at home. So when they're like doing lesson plans and when they're thinking about things at night, they can see, oh, this is when this is available. I can go in here. We wanted something that teachers could see. At first, the kids were like, we could hang a sign outside the door. I was like, yeah, but you gotta walk to the door to see that. And so we want them to see something. And I have a feeling that will go with the launch, right? Of like, hey, this is a building for all of us. Will you be mindful? Right? I've got to ask the staff to be mindful. If you're in it every day, that means somebody else is not in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's going to have to be said by our principal, maybe by me, but sometimes it's better when it comes from the principal. We need you to be mindful because this is a room for all of us involved, not just some of us. And so think, okay, if the morning is the best time for kindergarten, because they have all their specials in the afternoon, then maybe I won't pick the morning all the time. I know the afternoon is better for the older kids because we have our specials in the morning. So it's just kind of that setup of, hey, this is a space for all of us. Will you think about everybody when you're scheduling your time? I think it definitely comes from expectation, but also that sharing. Sorry, I don't really know how to answer that question. It's just thoughts. Yeah.
I don't know if you have like heard of this or if you do this. I'm a librarian, and so just thinking about the space. Currently, we don't have a space probably for a makerspace, but my idea to get it started is to do carts that teachers can check out and take to their classrooms.
Totally.
So that whole cart is like a makerspace cart,
Yep.
and then it just goes with them.
Yes.
Makerspace. But have them like stationed in the library.
No, totally. I think that's a fabulous idea because that's what we would do if we didn't have this room. Like that's where we were going last year. We started this brainstorming last year with my students, and I was like, we are going to create a tub. A tub of everything you need for that challenge is in there, so a teacher doesn't have to go looking for it. Here's the materials you need, here's the directions, here you go. You can create a makerspace in your own room. So yes, I just think it's helpful to have all the materials, right? And then if you're the person who's updating it, that's super helpful because then the teacher, oh man, there's no more spaghetti to do the spaghetti challenge or whatever. And if the challenge is on there with the purpose and the expectations, for sure. I think that's a great place to start because you can create any space into be a makerspace. Love that idea. Having a cart. Right? I think that's great. And I think small, right? Even small things And even things that don't cost can actually be of great help. So like, you can even start with, you don't have to have a huge thing of Legos or Connect pieces on that cart. It's just a bunch of recycled materials, or even just the spaghetti and marshmallows. That's not a lot of stuff. Put it in a tub and say, hey, have your kids go through design process with the spaghetti tower. And as the librarian, you could put cool books in there, right? Like you can find any book about towers and bridges and, hey, you want to tie this to your reading lesson? Here you go. Your teachers would love that. I already know that. That's cool. I like that idea. Any other questions? Thoughts? Before I leave you with, I told you, we always start with good things, and we always end with a quote. Kid President is, we watch their videos a lot, so doing nothing is a great way to change nothing. I was like, oh, Kid President, you say that so eloquently. Yeah, sometimes it's daunting, right? If you don't have a room and if you're not sure where to start, that's okay. But doing nothing is a great way to change nothing. So even just starting with, hey, we want to do that spaghetti challenge. Or hey, we're going to try to go through the design process. Maybe we want to try that cup challenge. Or building a boat, building a bridge. That's just one way to just start your kids thinking, even if you don't have a MakerSpace yet. Cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your time at iTech. I know the speaker is in the ballroom.